Loneliness is one of the deepest forms of human suffering, and yet loneliness is not always the absence of people. Sometimes loneliness is the absence of ourselves. You can sit in a crowded room surrounded by friends, family, colleagues, noise, conversation, and still feel profoundly alone. Why? Well, because loneliness often begins long before adulthood. It begins when we lose connection with who we are. When the child within us learns that their feelings are too much, their needs are inconvenient, their emotions are ignored, and their voice doesn't matter. Over time, many people adapt by disconnecting from themselves. They become who they need to be in order to survive. The good child, the capable child, the pleasing child, the high-achieving child, the invisible child. But underneath those adaptations is often a younger part still waiting to be met emotionally, still waiting to feel safe, still waiting to feel accompanied. And this is where identity work becomes deeply important, because identity is not simply who am I? Identity is what is my relationship with myself. Many people are not truly alone, they are internally abandoned. Their inner world is dominated by pressure, criticism, anxiety, overthinking, people-pleasing, perfectionism, and self-surveillance. The inner critic becomes loud, while the inner child becomes hidden. And when the child within us feels emotionally alone, we can spend our entire adult lives trying to escape that loneliness externally, through relationships, validation, attention, achievement, busyness, rescuing others, overgiving, constant distractions. But no amount of external connection can fully soothe internal abandonment. At some point, healing requires us to build a different relationship within ourselves. And this is where I often talk about something I casually call Mama Bear. Now, Mama Bear is not weakness. She is not passive. She is not indulgent. Mama Bear is the emerging inner nurturing parent, the part of you that begins to sit beside your inner child rather than abandoning them. The part of you that says, I see you, you matter, you're safe with me, I'm not leaving you. For many people this feels strange at first because they were never taught how to emotionally accompany themselves. They were taught how to criticize themselves, push themselves, distract themselves, and dismiss themselves, but not nurture themselves. And yet, healing often begins when we slowly develop this internal relationship, because the truth is, the inner child does not need perfection. The inner child needs presence. Imagine a frightened child sitting alone in a room. Now imagine somebody calm entering that room, sitting beside them, not fixing, not shaming, not overwhelming, just staying. That changes everything. And this is what your inner nurturing parent begins to do internally. Mama Bear says, you don't have to earn love here. You don't have to perform. You don't have to get everything right. I'm here. And over time, something remarkable starts to happen. Loneliness begins to soften. Not because life suddenly becomes full of people, but because internally you are no longer emotionally alone. You begin to build companionship with yourself. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to feel emotionally held from within. And this is why solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. Loneliness says, I have nobody. Solitude says, I'm with myself. That is a completely different experience. Many people fear being alone because when they are alone, they are left alone with an attacking inner critic. But what happens when Mama Bear starts sitting in that room too? What happens when the inner coach appears, or the matriarch, call it what you will, the wise, grounded, protective energy within you that says, we'll get through this together. Suddenly being alone no longer feels like abandonment, it begins to feel like connection. This doesn't mean we stop needing relationships. Human beings absolutely need connection, love, intimacy, friendship, and belonging. But healthy relationships become very different when they are no longer trying to rescue us from ourselves. Because when you build rapport with your inner child, you stop outsourcing your entire sense of emotional safety to other people. You begin bringing safety within you, and that changes relationships profoundly. You become less desperate for reassurance, less frightened of rejection, less likely to abandon yourself in order to keep somebody else close, because now there is somebody else in the room. You. Not the adapted self, not the performing self, not the defended self, the nurturing self, the grounded self, the compassionate self. And perhaps this is one of the deepest forms of identity work, learning that healing is not becoming somebody else, it is become somebody safe for yourself. So if you struggle with loneliness, don't only ask, who do I need around me? Also ask, what is my relationship with myself when nobody else is there? Is your inner world critical, cold, pressured and rejecting? Or are you beginning to develop your own mama bear, your own inner coach, your own matriarch? Because perhaps the goal is not simply to stop being alone. Perhaps the deeper goal is learning how to never abandon yourself again. If you'd like help with your inner loneliness, visit my website, book a free discovery call, and let's see what's possible.